All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. We are back. We got an incredibly positive response from part one. And either way, we were going to do part two and maybe even do more than that. No pressure on Lewis, half joking, half serious. But with that said, welcome to, of course, Lewis and Brandon. How are you guys doing today? And of course, the floor is yours, Lewis, to finish off what you phenomenally started with last week.
Dude,
Brandon,
this
how
is
you doing, brother?
bang on. I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much. This is so cool to sit here and hang out with you guys again. First one, banging. This Lewis of Oz. I absolutely love it. It is just made me think about this in such a different way. And the other day, my wife shared a video with me because of your episode, by the way. That was a snippet of the Dark Side of the Moon being played over a section of Wizard of Oz where you could play the Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd over it. I think the album loops like 3 times. We used to do it tripping all the time. But now watching it through the perspective that you offered was fascinating because now the ties to consciousness expansion in Pink Floyd and then your observation to it, it gives the syncing of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon with this movie a whole new meaning for me. So thank you. It was already special, but now it's even more special.
Appreciate that, man. Right, are we ready to go? Yeah.
Fucking yes, do it.
Awesome. Right, so I'm just going to do a quick recap of the previous slide. And what I've also done as well is I think it was Dave, you alluded to the table that we see here as the caduceus, if I'm remembering right. Well, I had that, and we're going to go into that a little bit lower down in the slides. So what I've done is I've bumped it up to, so if people are watching part one and then part two, it's just going to make a bit more sense. So as they approach the witch's house at the request of the wizard to kill her and return the broom, we see the flying monkeys are sent to attack them. The flying monkeys are thought demons, so fear, doubt, and disbelief. They want to bring you back to the left way of thinking and to remove your slippers. As Dorothy is captured, we see the witch holding Toto captive. This represents Dorothy being seemingly taken off her path and being held captive by the witch. Now, as you can see, she was aware of the yellow brick road, and right up against it is the red brick road, as we can see circled. They are tightly woven together, and she holds the crystal ball. She has the knowledge of truth because she is logic and reason. She understands that although there doesn't appear to be a red road accompanying it, it always resides next to it. Now, from the character's view of the lion, scarecrow, of Dorothy, etc., they don't actually see the red road next to it. It doesn't appear to be there. This is because the red road is the base root instincts that must accompany it. The common misconception that we must always reside in the mind is a misnomer. Sometimes we must use the animalistic side, the lion within us, to do what is necessary, to eat, to drink, to fight, to fuck, everything. Although we are beings that are far more than simply flesh and blood, we must also remember that the flesh and blood demands are demands that we must meet. We must be balanced in our approach to life, and this includes incorporating every aspect within us. As you can see, you can quickly take a step to the left or to the right to attend to your base needs and desires. This is why they are so close. They go hand in hand. Once attended to, you simply take a step to the left or to the right, and you're back on the spiritual path. Even when you do attend to the needs of your base desires, you aren't actually going away from the yellow brick road. It's the yin to the path's yang. Now the orb is actually a rainbow color this time, as opposed to the red and green that we saw before. This is because Dorothy is in the room, and she's in the room with the Wicked Witch of the West. This represents unsureness, uncertainty, as Dorothy is in the midst of battle, as is the witch, as she wants the ruby slippers. As we saw earlier, the orb turned into whatever intention the witch put into the orb. However, because there are two witches, Dorothy and the Witch of the West, it is unsure, and so we see the multiple colors indicating multiple possible scenarios. Oh, fuck. Close your eyes. We also see the outline of a metal globe on the top right. Instead of the actual thing, it is empty, and her belief is that she has attained the alchemical gold, and it's a lie since there is no internal within the globe. Again, it is empty without substance. Just using the left side of your brain, the reptilian brain, will only allow a base outline of the true gold. Again, we see the yellow bit road is shown, though this time it's a little more zoomed out from this picture. We can see the three fundamental basic shapes within our reality: the square, the circle, and the triangle. Each has its own properties and its own meanings, and notice how, like the yellow bit road, they're also yellow or gold as I see them. This is due to their importance in inner and understanding yourself in the world we live in. Square is one of order, stability, its direction, strength. Circle, infinity, perfection, completeness, unity. And the triangle at the bottom left is balance, the divine trio, intelligence, and equality. Now, join all those symbols together, and what do? We square the circle. We create the alchemical gold, which is the philosopher's stone. The philosopher's stone transforms base metals into gold. Now, what does base mean? It means the bottom, or in other words, the root. So we can liken this to the root chakra. And the alchemical gold is what? A crown. What crown's made of? Gold.
Could you just go back one slide,
sorry,
Lewis, if that's all right?
This one?
Yes, I'd like to point out to everyone that if you look, for example, at the square, and you look also not the circle within the square, but the square within the triangle itself, if you look at the left and right side, the degrees in which the square itself, I guess you could say, permits that openness of the triangle. The left and right sides are in fact also Pythagoras' theorem for calculating for a triangle: a squared plus b squared is c squared. And if you took those two sides and merged them together, you then have what you have at the top of the square, which is the complete triangle, which is something I find equally as interesting, because that speaks to even, yeah.
I've never known that before, dude. That is fascinating.
And also that speaks to integrals, which speaks to that concept of like steps, like the Penrose stairs, but even more so like a centrifugal vortex, a vortex like on the, if you could go back one slide again, if that's all right, Lewis. Sorry, the one before. My bad. There we go, on the right. That would be the right-hand side picture. That's what a gravity wave looks like as well when it's propagating from its center point. And that's also what is basically how photons and what you call time would emit itself from in that regard. It is propagating also in a counterclockwise rotation, which is interesting that they made it that similar there. And if I may say as well, that when you were to, if you were to look at the thermal spectrum of when a gravity field is generated in the same format that we see on the right-hand side image, if we go to the next slide, if that's cool, Lewis. Okay, see where we see the crystal ball there? It's of my opinion that I don't think it's a coincidence, given the amount of detail that you've actually pointed out to me, especially last time on this film. I didn't think there was this much intricate and granular detail, but that green there is also the same green that is enabled when you start to have a blue shift or red shift in the electromagnetic spectrum, and then you start to open up what you'd call certain magical phenomenon, which is also the same green that is seen at the poles for the aurora borealis. So I don't think that's a coincidence either. Just want to point that out. So thank you.
No, awesome stuff.
Oh my God, dude. Yes, absolutely yes. Just absolutely yes. It's, I mean, because then from that circle, there's another, and it's infinity out, right? And then infinity in. But everything's encompassed within that.
Now the flying monkeys are, as I stated earlier, thought demons. We can clearly see the crest or sigil that the monkey wears on its back, in the top left. Notice again the color red, which is obviously similarity to the sigil below, which is that of a demon named Horus. We can also see this. Oh, sorry, go on.
Root chakra color.
Yeah. We can also see the similarities between the monkey and the famous picture of the sleep paralysis demon, reinforcing the fact that this is in fact a thought demon. The Wicked Witch of the West then offers spirit in exchange for the pineal gland, Toto for the ruby slippers, and states that she was aware that Dorothy would see reason, again reinforcing the idea of the left brain way of thinking. The pineal gland is what allows us to dream. It's what secretes DMT. It's what allows us to do all the things that don't make sense to the rational mind. So as you start developing yourself and working in your third eye, all these different spiritual practices, you'll be sent fear and doubt and disbelief to bring you back to rationality. The witch is aware that without the utilization of the third eye, the philosopher's stone, the mind, care, and courage and spirits is practically useless. If she needs to try and kill the soul to get her to do this, then she will. This is when we get involved with pleasure seeking, hedonism, and again, the material world. All these destroy or at the very least damage the soul. Now, the hourglass is a fear device, hence the red sand used by the witch. It is to bring her back to the physical world and make her believe in the concept of time and death. This is one of the things that the left brain will force upon you when you are trying to reach the Emerald City. It will attempt to use fear and logic to make you aware of how it wants you to view the physical world. The R complex wants survival above all else, and it will attempt to dissuade you from venturing along the spiral path, as survival is difficult to navigate and predict. It seeks predictability and comfort. Our oldest fear is the fear of death and our fear of the unknown. And when it is so plainly put on your face that you can literally see the sand of time running down it, it's all the more frightening. This is because she has departed from her connection with the mind, the heart, her courage, and her spirit. We can also see the demon figures on the either side of the I can't think what it's called, the glass timer thing, which spiral inwards to then create another version of themselves at the bottom. This speaks to me at attempting to make her subconsciously aware that she can't escape death. Again, is a fear device. Now the cross, as I've highlighted in red, I've tried to do it small so you can see the shadow as well. It represents many things, the cross. Rebirth, sacrifice, and faith. She puts her faith in being saved from external forces rather than seeking to escape herself. However, it can also mean the opposite. The cross symbol also speaks to the inside of the magnetic field, and Dave can speak to this more than me, way more than me. Whereas the dot symbol denotes an outward magnetic field. It's a sign to look inwards, opposed to outwards. The shadow of the cross is a dual sign telling you but two things. It giving you two options, hence the lines of the cross, the two lines of the cross. Notice how the line in the middle points towards the door where she can actually escape, and also points towards Dorothy. This essentially means that if she chooses to look within herself, inside of herself, she can find the answer to escape, which is the door. However, if you decide to be saved by an external force, representative of the line in the middle, it points away from the door where she escapes and also away from Dorothy herself. What I also noticed, perhaps on a semi-unrelated note, when looking into magnetic fields, magnets, and solenoids, I think I'm pronouncing that right, was how the two images on the right-hand side in the middle are representative of ears, the red, as you can see. Hence, yet again, reinforcing the idea that we are the whole and we must look inside of ourselves. Is the science right there, Dave, with the magnetic fields? And yeah, awesome. Interestingly enough, the cross, so that picture, just there on the left-hand side, this one appears exactly 5 times, speaking to how she needed every single character. She needed herself. She needed Toto, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Lion. 5. 5 points also speaks to the pentacle. What are the 5 points of the pentacle? We have Earth being representative of Dorothy, the connection to the physical world, the born skills and tools at one's disposal from birth, so the natural things. We also have the Scarecrow, which is the intellect or the mind. We have water, which is care, emotion, creativity associated with the Tin Man. Fire is will, courage, and action, represented by the lion. And spirit is Toto, which is intuition, connection with source, and an internal knowing. With this slide in particular, I'd just like to state that the specific connections and labels that are associated with the characters. So the labeling of Dorothy as Earth, Scarecrow as air, etc. These aren't my ideas. These are done by Mark Passio. So I just want to all credit goes to him. It's not my idea. Brandon, did you want to jump in earlier? Sorry, I saw you go to the mic.
What was interesting, because you're saying that that image appeared 5 times, and so you were able to say that because of that, it's representative of these elements that are already sub-represented within the themes the entire time. That's fascinating. I mean, even
Yeah.
that level of detail is something I wanted to comment you on the way that you're looking at this, because even to the amount of time something is shown is now symbolically represented in this amazing slide that then brings back these connections as well. Just
That's also
outstanding,
your
dude.
2-to-1, 3-to-2 ratio.
What's that? Sorry, Dave.
That's also your 2-to-1 and 3-to-2 ratio for Pythagoras' integrals.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So as Dorothy's life hangs in the balance, as the Wicked Witch turns the time upside down, and she's going to die when the timer reaches 0. She calls out for Auntie M as she lies crying on the floor. She's currently experiencing what is known as the dark night of the soul. You know, you're going to want comfort. You will want everything to go back to the way it was before, to go back home. But you're in the midst of war. You can't simply leave the battlefield. You're in the home of the witch. Either you conquer or you become conquered. Now, remember that Toto is essentially Dorothy. They are twins. They can never truly be separated. So, looking internally, Toto, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion rush to save Dorothy. The Tin Man, the heart, talks about how he hates the thought of Dorothy and that horrible entrapment of the witch. Again, this shows us how they are actually exemplifying the characteristics that they say they lack. Here he is showing true care. To get through the dark night of the soul, you will need care, thought, and most of all, courage. We have the Tin Man expressing care. That's the first step. Then we have the mind coming up with a plan to escape. And lastly, what is needed is action, courage. Next, we see Toto, the intuition, barking again to make them aware of the guards that are about to ambush them. As they free Dorothy from the room she was held hostage in, they attempt to escape. However, all the minions of the witch force them into a trap. Scarecrow then again acts as the mind to help them gain a few seconds to attempt to run away from the castle. The mind constantly leads them and guides them. Obviously, it can get it wrong, and they find themselves trapped again.
You notice that pine cone on the left? Unless I'm wrong, but
Dude, I was
it's
looking at it, and the
I
only
think
reason
it's
I
a
didn't
bird.
the only
I'm not
reason I didn't
sure.
say anything is because it looks like feathers, but I will say
yeah,
the conical shape is definitely represented there. I was this close to saying something, but I'm so glad
yeah,
you said something.
yeah.
Okay. So I wouldn't say pine cone because of the way the feathers lay and because they're not
Right.
interlaced and around, but I would say that
Yeah.
that is absolute conical iconography for sure. Yep.
Awesome. Like, if we could also jump back maybe 3 or 4 slides to the hourglass where you showed the cross, Lewis, very quickly. There we go. Thank you. This also speaks to, if I may, the orthogonality and perpendicularity of what's called tracing in quantum physics and matrices and matrices. This speaks to, again, the idea that if there's something existing materially, there is something orthogonally or perpendicular to that material object that is also existing within the ether itself, respectively. So just wanted to throw that out there. That's a very, very incredible image that describes that too. So thank you.
Well, right. And to this, then, what I got in my mind when you said this is that the physical reality, there's a shadow of a quantum shadow, an imprint of the exact thing in the quantum as well. So this also, you may be able to tie this now into Peter Pan, dude, and think about that with the shadow motif and everything. But again, represented here to exactly what you said. It's a quantum imprint, but also it's a shadow. And now it's physically represented from a physical object and a disparate shadow. That's fascinating. Damn.
Was it this one? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Awesome. So the witch then, after trapping them all, sets fire to the Scarecrow with a broomstick, indicating the left portion of the brain, attacking the whole. Now, interestingly enough, the left brain can show more signs of something called autoimmune encephalitis, which essentially means that the brain is on fire. Dorothy then throws water on the Scarecrow, which hits the witch, and then she melts and dies. The right brain is that of the feminine of blue, representing the water symbol, and the feminine, where the Witch of the West is masculine. This is why the witch is killed when she comes into contact with the water, i.e., the right hemisphere of the brain. This is why she didn't want to take on the Witch of the North, and she was clearly scared of her. Sorry, I've lost my because she knows she would lose. I believe that she was killed in the film specifically just as a way of getting the broomstick and taking it back to the Wizard of Oz. Obviously, the witch dying shows her lack of control and her brain dying as opposed to the physical left brain itself. This results in the rebringing back of unification and balance, as the witch's control is no longer as powerful as it used to be. They
Also,
return
real,
to the
real quick from the last slide, real quick. She also embodied, Dorothy, in that moment, all of the characteristics that she empowered the others with as well. So she had the courage to throw the water on him. She had the smarts and intelligence to know that water would do the trick in that moment. And then also she had the care to do it in that way, right? And then so by just coherently bringing those factions together in one physical expression, it then defeated that, which then opposed her, right? So I just wanted to point out just what you brought to my intuition on this was that she combined all of those elements in one action.
How did I miss that? Brilliant stuff, Brandon.
You know what it
Brilliant.
was is you inspired me to look at this movie different. That's the whole thing. Is that you just but it's one small little action. But again, then they're all standing there very happy that she's now they're all watching as an observer her carry out the actions of which can collaborate all of them. You know what I mean? That was the word. Yeah. But thank you for the vision to see it, is what I will say. I wouldn't have seen it that way if you wouldn't have pointed it out.
So they return to the wizard, giving the broomstick as proof of the death of the witch. He starts insulting them and berating them again, telling them to come back as he's not ready. All of them join in complaining about the wizard, about his excuses. We then see the spirit Toto then expose the wizard as a fraud. Now, the wizard is the ego. It makes all these promises. It gives you hope that it will solve your problems for you. This is why all of them put their faith in the wizard to solve their issues. As we can see, this is a lie. He doesn't solve anything, and he actually can't. It is a diversion from true spiritual enlightenment. When the ego is exposed, says pay no attention to that man in the corner, it attempts to give the false symbols of the actual thing. It's a fraud, and it relies only on image projection rather than actual substance.
And it gaslights him, just like your government does when you find shit out about it.
Mm-hmm. What he's actually gaslighting them physically, as we can see by the red smoke.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he then explains to the Scarecrow that to have brains, you have to go to university and get a diploma. No ascending master, no spiritually enlightened teacher would ever suggest that for you to be smart, you need a diploma. I mean, Dave's one fucking evidence of that. Look at the stuff he's into and never, yeah. Anyway, this is a lie, and it's only one part of intelligence. The Scarecrow, after receiving the diploma, becomes content that he finally has a brain. All the gifts from the ego you see are placebos. They are things that make you feel. No, they are things that make you believe you need to have them to then feel the way that you do to desire to feel. It is an outward recognition instead of an inwards one. They haven't recognized out of the whole journey that they actually are what they set out to be, but it was the realization of the journey that took them, and they still haven't realized that. As he leaves, he decides to put the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion in charge of the city. This shows that the ego holds the mind in highest regard, the heart second, and lastly courage, as courage is dangerous to the ego when it puts it in danger. The ego attempts to take the soul with it, but the intuition guides it away from the ego by, I think she chases a cat or something. By using the ego, you can't travel towards the higher states of mind expansion and spiritual illumination. When the wizard leaves, seemingly forever, Glinda returns to provide guidance. We also see yet again, as I've highlighted in red, the cross symbology on the air balloon That is to say, to stay away from the external, i.e., the balloon going away with the wizard. Only you yourself, as we will find out, can take yourself home. Dorothy then asks Glinda if she can help her to return home, as she believes she finished the journey. And Glinda then replies that she always had the power to return home. The Scarecrow, the mind, asks Glinda why she didn't tell Dorothy earlier. She remarks that Dorothy wouldn't have believed her. She had to learn it firsthand. The Tin Man asks what lessons she's gained. Dorothy speaks to how about yearning for comfort and to follow in society's footsteps wasn't enough for her to then give up on her journey. She also says how she looks for her ultimate wants and needs and desires of her heart. She doesn't actually have to look outside of herself. If she could lose what she had by leaving, then she never actually lost it, and therefore there was no reason to run away. Glinda then agrees and tells her that's exactly right. Scarecrow proclaims how he should have fought it for her, and the Tin Man says how he should have felt it in her heart. Glinda then explains to Dorothy how she had to discover it for herself. Now, this is possibly, in my opinion, the most important part of the whole story. You can't be told it, you have to experience it. And experience, in my opinion, is the greatest teacher. This is why this world appears to be so fucking shit sometimes, because you have to experience it to make it feel real. It feels so visceral and,
Hang on,
you know.
I got a sound effect for
Brandon's
that.
jumping.
That's a gong, by the way. That's a realization gong. Nice job, Lewis. Absolutely.
I'm just glad I didn't get the queef.
There's still time, my friend.
Yeah, here we go. So, stop looking outside yourself and start looking internally. The greatest lessons in your life won't be in any textbook or any words on a screen or any video. There will be experiential lessons, as experience is yet again the greatest teacher. You always had the power to return home. All it took was the journey to help you realize that you had the power. And perhaps this is what life is, a journey in which we must use our brains, our heart, our courage, and our intuition to ascend beyond the base demands that we are presented with and that society presents with also. She then taps her feet 3 times, saying that there's no place like home. While she does this, the Witch of the North swirls around, again creating a spiral, a vortex for her to return back to the physical world. Notice where the vortex appears to be coming from as well and going towards at the same time. The third eye. So she then wakes up from being asleep. Asleep meaning unenlightened, not awake and conscious of her power. When you wake up, all you're going to want to do is to tell people of this amazing journey that you went through, and they're not going to believe you. And why? Because like Dorothy, they need to go through the journey themselves in order to know intuitively and in their heart. Dorothy then states how she will never leave and how she loves them all. She loves all the different components of herself. She's formed a bond now with her mind, her heart, her courage, and also herself, her soul. She's happy to be in the comfort and continue the rest of the journey with the knowledge of self, the knowledge of who she actually is. Now, despite Auntie M not being on the journey with her, or even believe her or understanding what she's talking about, she still loves her. Now, to me, this speaks to Christ consciousness. Love thy neighbor, whether they understand you or not. You need to understand that your loved ones, your friends, your family, society, they haven't been to us. And so they're on 2 different paths and different stages of development. Remember, you always had the access to get back home, but you might not be in the Emerald City right now. You may not have killed your witch or solved enough riddles. You may be, as I speak, sleeping with the puppies. If so, I can only hope these words in this presentation act as a reminder to wake you up to your true power and link arms with your mind, your heart, your courage, and alongside your spirit, find yourself in the Emerald City. The greatest fear of the witch was that Dorothy would realize her true power and realize she is far more powerful than she herself realizes. Instead of searching for the wizard, she should have been searching for herself. You're Dorothy, and you are the savior that you've been looking for. Know thyself in all ways, all your flaws, all your fears, all your weaknesses and your strengths, and secondly, know why they are so. If you're looking how to get home, you need only look into a mirror. For the answer to your question has been and will always be within you. Thank you.
You get another one. That's two gongs of enlightenment in one show, dude. That's unheard of.
That
is what
that
it
was
is.
incredible. That was beautiful.
Lewis, man. I mean, unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. Outstanding. I'm just still integrating, still just blown away. Can't wait to, be sitting front row going, I know that dude at the TED Talk when you give this. Like, I mean, it's just outstanding, brother. Outstanding.
I have nothing to add because you finished it off so eloquently, and I really mean that. I there's not much I could really say in my opinion.
Just praise. That's it.
Well, just thank you. Honestly, thank you. I had a blast.
First of many, brother. First of many. You're just way too great at this, man.
Awesome. Awesome. So
you said you wanted a series as well.
Yeah.
I might do that. So write in the comments, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy, let's say my style of presenting, then stick it in the comments, message Dave, and I might
please put in the
movies,
comments
yeah.
on Patreon. Please, everyone, put in the comments. Yes, if you'd like to see more of a series like this. Yes.
I'll give you a prompt, and maybe you guys can comment if this is a good one or not. Peter Pan, back to the shadow element of it. I'm curious to see what your interpretation on all the symbolism in Peter Pan is. Yeah, we're definitely doing that.
Sweet. Awesome.
All right. Well,
all right,
love.
everyone. So thank you
guys
so much for those that have tuned in, whether visually or via audio, and we will catch all of you next time around.
Outstanding.